We are starting what is something we're really excited about. It's our great debates series, our great sports debate series that we're going to be doing throughout the summer. Each week, we're going to take a different subject, and we're going to do like a deep dive throughout the week, and then the next week we'll take a different subject. So we're starting off here, no holds barred, top 25 athletes since 2000. So they could have played in the 90s, but their career has to be in the 2000s. So we have 25, so let's get to it. We'll reveal our first five.
The Great Debate Series. 25 greatest athletes since 2000.
I love the twists and turns that music takes. It starts out very regal, and now all of a sudden we're in a club in Miami. That was quite adventurous. All right, Perloff, this is you and I together. You want to start it off with number 25 on the list?
Okay, number 25 on the list, Shaun White.
Yep.
So I think he's unique on this list, by the way, because obviously was a Winter Olympic hero for many, many years. But he was also a champion skateboarder, won the X Games in skateboard. So for me, Shaun White, this is one of the ones, Maggie, there are all sorts of different debate points. His influence was also so huge, basically brought in a new era of sports in a way. So I think regardless of where you put him among athletes, just there are very few more impactful athletes than Shaun White.
Three-time Olympic gold medalist. He's a 13-time X Game gold medalist. He won two-time X Games gold medalist on skateboarding, not on snowboarding. Most Olympic medals by a snowboarder. So Shaun White, 25 on the list. 24.
All right, you handle
me to
this
do
one.
24?
Yeah, I would get 24
on this list might get a little controversial. This is where we put Alexander Ovechkin. And this might seem a little bit low for some people. Of course, he's the one-time Stanley Cup champion. He's the three-time MVP. He's got 9 times. He's got the Richard Trophy, a Calder Award winner, the Ross Trophy, of course, Conn Smythe as the MVP of the playoffs. I hate that the NHL does it. He's also a 3-time world champion and, of course, set to pass Wayne Gretzky for most goals scored in a career. He's 72 shy of Wayne's record. Now, he is lower on this list, I think, than some might believe. But most power play goals, did I mention that about Ovechkin?
He's also, too,
on the list.
He's a young pup. He's 37. He's got a lot of hockey left. So maybe he'll fight his way up this. Okay.
Okay, you want to go number
23. We both love this one. Shohei Ohtani. Maggie, read the vitals.
Okay, Shohei Ohtani already has an AL MVP, already a Rookie of the Year. Career ERA 3.02 with 431.2 innings pitched. Now, he also, in the last 3 years, just post-pandemic and post-Tommy John surgery, that he is averaging basically over 11 strikeouts per 9 with 480 strikeouts. And right now, as a hitter, he is currently leading Major League Baseball in home runs. He is currently leading Major League Baseball in RBI. He's got an OPS over 1. And if you're into old school, a little bit more batting average, he's currently hitting 300 and lifetime 271. So Shohei Ohtani, despite the fact that he is only 6 years into his career and we're doing all of the 2000s, we believe that he deserved to be on this list. Okay.
No postseason success. We'll get into that in a little bit.
Yes, he has not made the postseason. Okay. Go ahead, Perloff, number 22.
22. Oh, I have to say this one. This one is controversial. Floyd Mayweather. Mm-hmm. Of course, let me just say something about this list.
Yeah.
We're not talking as much about off the field or off the court stuff.
No, there's only one thing that we dinged people for, and that was steroids, but we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, so obviously, same with Shaun White had some issues off the field or off the snow, I guess.
Yeah.
Floyd Mayweather's out of the ring stuff is well documented, but you cannot deny the brilliance of his boxing career.
50-0, the all-time record. Of course, Mayweather retires with the undefeated record. Mayweather, obviously, as the name and face in boxing. Now, I think Manny Pacquiao probably could have had a shot at this.
Yep.
to also be on this list, but I mean, Mayweather wins over Castillo, wins over Arturo Gatti, wins over Oscar De La Hoya, wins over Zab Judah. I mean, we can just go on and on and on. Diego Corrales, Mayweather is the boxer of this generation.
Yeah. I mean, his style is, he's not a big knockout guy. Everyone knows. Greatest defensive boxer of all time. Also considered by many to be the greatest pound-for-pound boxer of all time, which in a sense, he could be higher. We'll get into it a little bit, but I do think he avoided some people during his career. I think that's a big knock from what I read in the boxing world.
It took 5 years for him and Pacquiao to finally meet in the ring, but I think that was a little two to tango situation. Okay, and number 21 on the list, and this is our top 25 athletes since 2000. This is the first installation today, 25 through 21. Clayton Kershaw makes it in at 21. Of course, has baseball's triple crown. He was an MVP, 3-time Cy Young winner. Not only that, a Gold Glove, 5-time ERA title. And you know what? That World Series, while it was in 2020, which was only a 60-game season, I do think that the postseason career stats for Kershaw, while that was always his sort of bugaboo, right, is that he
definitely,
didn't pitch as well in the postseason as he did in the regular season. Now here we are all these years later, and it's not like he has this terrible postseason ERA. It's his postseason ERA is a 4.22. This is not horrible. It's just not what he has done in the regular season, where his career ERA is like a 2.49.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're going to confuse him with Madison Bumgarner's career, which was outstanding in the playoffs, or Jack Morris or somebody like that. He's definitely improved, and it's one of those ones where the second half of his career, he's probably less brilliant during the regular season, but I think he's evened out in the playoffs. And he went to high school with Matthew Stafford too.
Yeah, everyone has to mention that at every turn. So thank you for doing that. So that is 25 through 21. Again, just getting in the car, just tuning us on. You got Shaun White, snowboarder, at 25. Alexander Ovechkin at 24. Shohei Ohtani makes this list at 23. Floyd Mayweather at 22. And Clayton Kershaw at 21.
Yeah, the debate points that jump out at you, you can't miss. We chose to put Shohei on here, even though he's just sort of in a way at the beginning of his career. There are many, many more accomplished baseball players.
Yep. And one that ended up not making the list was Mike Trout.
Yes.
Now, this is tough for us because he's a 3-time MVP, and it makes us look silly to not have Mike Trout on this list. However, when we look at Mike Trout, and for all his brilliance, and I realize you could say, well, we're applying this unevenly because Shohei Ohtani has not had any postseason experience. Mike Trout has played 3 games in the postseason. Now, this is not all his fault, of course. The pitching in the Angels organization has been dreadful. I understand that. You don't have to tell us, but we did leave him out. He's got 1 hit in the postseason. It is a home run. It was a solo home run. That's it. That's everything to date, and a couple walks and strikeouts. It's just nothing. And when we think about transformative players, and we think about ones who will define this era, generation, whatever it is, it pained us. Mike Trout didn't make the list.
It really it pained me more because it was Maggie's idea to keep him off.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm just I'm totally kidding. I'm not yes, Mike Trout has had these gaudy stats, but we're in an era of baseball where guys get enormous stats, and you're seeing, because a lot of people are getting enormous stats, they don't make the winning impact that you want to see. There are other 3-time MVPs who don't make it, by the way. That's no guarantee of anything.
Listen, Ernie Banks made it to the Hall of Fame, never played 1 postseason game. Like, I understand there are other players who are great, but we had to be a little discerning with this list. We didn't want to just do the same list that everyone does all the time, and we were defining greatness in a lot of different ways.
I don't think Mike Trout is that high on anybody's list, because I think everyone dings it for this postseason one. The other thing, too, is there's so many MVPs that you can't honor them all. There's just no way to do it. I'm going to say that name, like Giannis won 2 MVPs.
Yes.
And
he is not on this list.
He is not on this list because it's so crazy crowded with superstars.
Yep, it is hard because you're doing from 2000. So we're doing 23 years. What year is it? And it's hard to come up with people who were winners and amazing and impactful and try to get it all on this list.
And there's so many different sports, too.
Yeah. As you can see, if we're doing Shaun White, we're really trying to encapsulate everything.
Right. Yeah, you'll see too. There might be an emphasis on individual sports over team sports too. It's just hard. I mean, Mike Trout's not the only name on here that we left off. I think like I said, we had a list of 65 names. Is that fair to say, of people we thought deserved to be on here?
Easy. Samter and Stu, you guys were personally offended that we left Mike Trout off this list.
Mike Trout finished top 5 in MVP voting in the AL his first 9 years, including 3 wins. 1, 2, 3, 4 times he finished second in MVP voting. He has one of the most transcendent careers, especially when you think about the PED era. We left all the PED guys, well, I mean, we'll discuss more. But like Barry Bonds, A-Rod, Sosa, those guys who put up these gaudy numbers, we're not including onto this list at this point, and we can discuss that further. But here's a guy who is, as far as we know, not lumped into that in any way, shape, or form, not connected in any way, shape, or form to that. And here he has 3 MVPs, 9 top 5 finishes. How he doesn't make the list just because he's boring and doesn't sell the game. I love Ohtani, but when we look back in 20 years, we're going to look at Mike Trout in that same vein as Mickey Mantle and Babe Ruth and Willie Mays.
Well, we have other boring people on this list. You didn't have to be out there like slinging Cracker Jacks to make our list.
I used to sling Cracker Jacks, and I'm not on this list.
You are not on this list. You did not make the top 65 on this list or 6,500 on this list.
I'm a little offended now.
This was a hard one. We know we're going to get some criticism for this one. It was a difficult thing to do, especially because Perloff. I mean, Philadelphia, Mike Trout. This was not like the Homer pick would have made Mike Trout number 1.
Yeah, his best attribute is his Eagles fandom. Let me ask you guys a question. When we had a pre-show debate, and it's probably I'm not going to make a great case here, but I would argue even David Ortiz has an argument over Mike Trout because he won all those World Series. He was so clutch. And basically, at the end of the day, Ortiz and Trout have almost the same OPS. They're very similar statistics.
There's 2 things with Ortiz. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
I know, but Mike Trout plays center field. He plays a premium position defensively. And Ortiz is a DH. I mean, that has to matter.
Yeah, but they're close. But those World Series rings have to matter, too.
Well, that's unfortunately why Mike Trout got dinged here, which is unfair because we realize that baseball is an individual sport.
I think a big thing for me is when I look at like a person's football or baseball reference page or whatever reference page it is, the number of bolds on their page matters, right? Ortiz has 3, 4, 5 bolds.
We got to explain what that means.
Oh.
When this is on a reference page, baseball reference, pro football reference, hockey reference, college sports reference, it's things that a lot of us in the industry use for numbers. Bold means they led the league.
Correct. Yeah. And Ortiz has like 5 or 6, which is impressive. Or Trout has like 30.
Trout, so like, it looks like a game show.
Correct.
Yeah.
Comparing the two is not even close as far as like their abilities on the field. The rings matter, I get it, but here's the thing: if Trout had been in the playoffs a bunch and failed over and over and over, kind of like how A-Rod constantly failed in the playoffs when he got there, that's different than there's just not getting there. His teams just haven't been good enough, and that's not really his fault. He's done everything possible to get there. So you can't really blame him for not being in the postseason. If he had gotten there over and over and over and just kept failing and sucking, I get that. That's a different story.
Jeff Anders in the chat, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. East Coast bias, obviously. No, because we put Ohtani on the list. We don't have an East Coast bias. And if we did have an East Coast bias, we would have put Trout on definitely because Perloff loves everyone who roots for Philadelphia teams. This was not East Coast bias. I do not think you are going to find East Coast bias in this list.
Yeah, I mean...
And we put Clayton Kershaw on.
This is a tough one.
It's right here.
This was tough for us, but it's just a ridiculously gaudy list. I mean, you could make an argument, I think, for Trout over Kershaw as well. You probably could have made, if you really, really wanted to. If I say Ortiz, maybe you say Bumgarner belongs over Kershaw.
Bumgarner absolutely deserved consideration on this list. He's also a 3-time champion. His postseason ERA is the lowest ever. He is amazing.
Did you guys consider a Verlander or a Scherzer over Kershaw? Because Verlander has the MVP, 3 size, and 2 World Series in a non-bubble, shortened season era where he was the guy.
A cheater year, though, 2017.
True. But 1 non-cheater year as well.
And 1 non-cheater year, too. And that's not maybe him cheating. It's
it's the other side of the ball.
He also has a Triple Crown as well.
He also has Triple Crown. We did consider Verlander and Scherzer.
Yeah, I mean, are we getting...
But because I am a card-carrying Mets fan, I could not bring myself to do it. No, I'm just kidding.
So no East Coast bias there, for sure.
No, God, no. Well, but they did all their best work not on the East Coast. No, that's not true. Scherzer won the World Series.
Yeah.
I don't consider Detroit the East Coast. That's the Midwest to me.
Sure, but it's not West Coast.
By the way, we did separate the PED guys.
We did as much as we tried. So we didn't do the off the court, off the field, out of the ring arrests or things like that. Obviously, we know that Floyd Mayweather went to prison for domestic violence. We're not putting our head in the sand about that. We did do, though, is we did try to keep out PED users that we know of.
So the two big ones that could have gone very high on this list to me were on baseball, Barry Bonds and A-Rod.
Yep.
A-Rod started in the 90s, but A-Rod did have a lot of stats.
Bonds.
Yeah. Oh, and Bonds, you're right. That's a great point. I think at Bonds' peak, of course, was with the Giants in the 2000s. A-Rod had monster numbers throughout the 2000s, but I don't think either of us felt okay about having them there.
Everyone's got to do their version of this, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no right answer with these gray areas about cheaters. Although Weed Eater Brian says, what about a straight-up cheater like Tom Brady?
It's a good line. It's a good line.
He was suspended 4 games.
Manny, by the way, Manny Ramirez would have been in my. I love
Manny
Ramirez.
too. You can't even say his name now. People don't. I don't think it. Manny's not going to be outside of Boston. Manny's not going to be remembered the way he probably should be because of the steroids. I think
Okay, fair enough.
And maybe outside of Cleveland, I guess.
So we have 2 challenges to our list as well. One is from our prestigious board op, Stu, who said no Pujols. And I mean, listen, there have been rumblings.
How do you know there's no Pujols? We're only 25 through 21.
This is true. If Pujols, this is a good point. If Pujols isn't on this list, was he considered? Did you consider Pujols? Because I know we have it's limited for baseball.
Yeah.
Would Pujols be somebody that you would have kept out of this list for rumblings or other?
I don't want to reveal too much about the rest of the list. Just to tell you that there was robust debate about Albert Pujols.
Okay.
Robust. Wow. Just as much debate about Pujols as there was about Trout.
Interesting. And we also have Alex on Twitter, AGILLYK, says, all I'm saying is if you have Ovechkin on this list and not Sidney Crosby on there near the top, I'm going to riot. So I don't know if Sidney Crosby's on the list or not or where he is. I'm just letting you know that Alex is threatening to riot.
I would say put down the pitchforks, put away the Molotov cocktails. Don't worry.
I am curious what Alex's riot would look like. What shape and form would said riot be?
As long as it's not here.
Could it be a quiet riot?
That's a dad joke.
We're not going to take that.
Okay.
Yes, it was my first Father's Day. I'm allowed.
So there you go. So that's 25 through 21. Again, quickly. And did I tell you, Perloff, Nick in Texas had a good idea. Get the whiteboard back up.
Ooh, I like
Put
that.
It behind you. I know we forgot about the whiteboard. It's been currently used as a calendar in our office. Shaun White 25, Ovechkin 24, Ohtani 23, Mayweather 22, Clayton Kershaw 21. Mike Trout is not on this list. I feel like every time I say that I should duck.
Yeah, by the way,
someone's gonna throw like a rotten tomato at me.
I physically lowered my head when you said that.
I know. I feel bad about it.
You know who's not going to like this?
America.
Hey, you know who else? Our upcoming guest.
He's going to hate it.
I'm just getting
He's going to hate it. He might hang up.
The early reaction is maybe we don't tell him.
Let's draw straws on who has to tell Bob Costas that Mike Trout's not on the list. I think everybody. Stu, you might just have to talk to Costas.
Wait, I don't remember. Does Bob like baseball?
Yeah. He's not in the Hall of Fame or anything.
I know he loves basketball. That's a whole different thing.
Oh, yeah.
Who's going to tell Costas that Trout's not on the list?
I may or may not have hinted at it when I was talking with him to book for today.
I'm surprised he said yes to the interview if he even has an inkling.
Can we just lie and say Trout's 16 or something?
No.
Because Bob's going to be mad at us, Megan. I don't want to make Bob mad.
I don't want to make Bob mad.
You wouldn't like him when he's angry.
I wouldn't like Bob when he's angry. Oh, no. All right, well, we're going to have to take our medicine. This is our list. We got to stand by the list no matter what.
And the list is set in stone?
This is the list, yeah. Andrew Kaplan, who did a fantastic job on these graphics, he's already made the graphics. No turning back now. This is our Thelma and Louise. We got to go over the cliff with this no Trout. Okay. Stu won't even look at it. Stu's so mad. Stu's the biggest baseball fan on the show. He's so mad. Two-Ton Tony says Trout was 26.
Here's the question.
I don't think that's going to fly with Bob.
We have all week to do this. Will we try and change the graphics for the top 20? Just once. Or will it cross our mind? Or at some point, will you turn to me and say, can we change the graphic? Or I will say it to you. You know that we're going to get cold feet on one of these.
I mean, I think it's happening right now with Trout. We immediately have remorse.
I think 1 through 18 is super solid. Super solid.
1 through 18, it's a list of 25.
What about 19 and 20?
Not so great.
Well, we're going to have to get to those tomorrow.